It's Charter California Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance, and we are joined by Uriel Macias. He is a council member in the city of Azusa. But today I want to speak with him about his service to the nation. He has been serving our nation for over 12 years. Like many young men and women after 9/11, he felt a calling and he joined the Navy. What's remarkable about Mr. Macias' service is that when he was on active duty, he had been elected the treasurer of the city of Azusa. When he was recently recalled, he was on the city council for the city of Azusa. How he was able to manage all those responsibilities is unclear to me, and that's why I wanted to have you on today, sir. I'd like to start and speak with you about how you decided at the age of 31, 32 to join the military. Mind you, you had just been elected the city treasurer of Azusa in 2001. You were 30 years old, and yet you decided, I'm going to serve not only as an elected official, but I'm going to join the military.
Yes, while I was serving as treasurer, 9/11 happened, as you know, and I always wanted to join the military. I never got to do it straight out of high school, so I felt it was my duty to do it at that point, and I went and enlisted in the U.S. Navy.
But you were serving your people, your nation, your city already. You were elected official, you were giving. Wasn't that enough?
To me, it wasn't. The military was always something that I wanted to be a part of. I wanted to be something bigger than myself, and the U.S. Navy gave me that opportunity.
In a very significant way. You served active duty for a few years. Interestingly, while you were called as a result of the attacks of 9/11, which emanated out of the Middle East, you actually served in Central and South America.
We did a couple of tours. We did a humanitarian tour in Guatemala after some of the hurricanes and earthquakes that they had down there.
How was that?
That was very rewarding, helping out people that were in dire need and getting supplies, food, water to them, basic supplies that they needed for survival. Not too long after that, we did a counter-narcotics tour off the coast of Panama.
Oh my.
Working with not only their army, but our Navy, and being land-based with the Seabees, doing some counter-narcotics operations.
And what did you take away from those 2-3 years?
It was a different world than what I was used to. We are very, very spoiled here.
So lucky. You know,
very
I've
lucky.
had the good fortune to travel around the world. I host a travel program on a different network, and it is remarkable how lucky we are to be Americans.
It definitely is, and what the U.S. military does out there is remarkable. Unless you've actually seen it or been there, you have no idea what they do.
So you chose to enter the reserves in 2006, not an uncommon choice, but who would have thunk that in 2013, with a wife that's pregnant at home, with a 2-year-old at home at that point, you got a phone call. What was that phone call?
The phone call was our commanding officer said, I need you in our office next time you're in San Diego.
Did you have any idea why he was saying this?
I had a very good idea because the way he said it, and he beat around the bush a little bit, but he wanted to tell me directly, and not too long after that I got the formal letter being recalled and mobilized back to active duty.
So why? What was going on in early 2013 that caused this recall? Was it you because you had certain skills? Was there an additional need?
Yes, I had certain skills that they needed. Being a lieutenant in the Navy, which is a captain equivalent in the other branches, I am a supply and logistics officer, and I was part of the surge that President Barack Obama implemented starting in 2010 and ending in 2014.
Right, it was that 4-year from Bush to Obama surge, right?
It was. So I was part of the tail end of that surge for Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan, and I was sent to work with the 3rd Army Corps out of Fort Hood, Texas, to Kabul, Afghanistan.
Now, it happened to be that you were able to be here when your wife delivered your second child.
Yes.
Just in the nick of time.
Yes, he was born about 3 weeks right before I deployed, so I got to see him born, and it was quite a thrill.
But it had to be quite scary for you, for your wife, to have you leave 3 weeks after your second child. And mind you, you have stepchildren at home, is that right?
Yes, 2 teenagers.
So you have the 2 teenagers, the 2-year-old and the 2-week-old.
Yes.
And you're off to Afghanistan.
Yes, I was actually more worried and more afraid for her and for them. than about what I had to face here in the next year.
It's always that way.
Yes.
You know, it's always like you can handle yourself. You know, you're strong, but to think.
Absolutely.
And so let's remember, by the way, that you had then been elected to city council in 2007.
Yes.
And so you managed to stay as treasurer your first go around. Now you're on the city council for your second go around. How did that all work? How has that all worked?
Yes, as most of you know, city council requires at least 3 or 4 meetings per month, and you have to be there. So I had to take a formal leave of absence, and I requested that. The city has a policy where all employees are allowed to do that, but there was never precedent for a council member to have done that. So it had to go before the city council, and my 4 colleagues unanimously approved for me to take a 1-year leave of absence.
I would hope. I mean, this is a special situation. I know that there was an assembly member, I remember him, Jeff Gorell, who represented portions of Ventura County, just as he was elected.
Yes.
I think it was in 2010, he was recalled.
Yes.
Not elected recall, but meaning he was sent back. And so for his first year, he wasn't in the state legislature.
Yes, there's a lot of elected officials that are actually serving in the military, either the National Guard or the reserves, and they've had to face similar circumstances.
Now, when you were treasurer, though, you were able to juggle?
I was able to juggle because it wasn't a set schedule. There were not certain meetings. I had to make certain investments and certain reports that could be made either remotely or with the assistance of finance staff.
Okay, so let's come back to 2013. I want to get a sense from you what it was like to be in Afghanistan. You were, at that point, 10 years older. You were a dad, a little grayer, a little wiser.
Yes.
How was that?
Well, it was quite surreal, to be honest with you. By that point, I had gotten a commission, and I was a commissioned officer.
Which means?
Which means I wasn't enlisted anymore. I was in the officer corps, and working with 4-star, 3-star, and 2-star generals in the U.S. Army and in the U.S. and United States Marine Corps. We were working with the headquarters staff under General Joseph Dunford, United States Marine Corps. He was the NATO commander. So I got to work with international troops from just about every NATO country there.
And talk to us a bit about Afghanistan.
Afghanistan is surreal. Picture a place where you're back in time maybe 200-300 years, what I would imagine it being like. Women are not allowed to walk freely in the streets without a male companion. They have to wear a full-on burqa. Little girls just recently, within the last few years, were able to start to go to school. In Kabul, Afghanistan, myself and a few others helped open the first all-girls elementary school there in Kabul, Afghanistan, and it was quite rewarding. We did face mortar fire quite frequently. We did lose a couple of guys from our unit, and yes, the MO right now is for them to insert themselves into our convoys and load up the vehicles with explosives and put a trigger plate on the bumper, so they bump into one of our vehicles and it takes out the vehicle along with themselves. And we lost a couple of our members that way, so it's quite surreal. What
did you take away from those 10 months? You've been home now for just over a year.
It has really opened up my eyes to how lucky we are here in the U.S. To have the government that we have, the facilities that we have, the opportunities for education that we have, and to appreciate the little things. Everything from running water to supermarkets to freedom of mobility. That's the thing I missed the most, was freedom of mobility.
How is your wife? How are your 4 kids? Are they glad to have Dad home?
They were ecstatic when I got home. We got to Skype a few times in between here, the tour, but nothing like seeing them up close and personal and giving them big hugs every day.
I want to thank you for your service to both the city of Azusa and to the United States of America. It's really my honor to have had you on the program. I'm sure you'll be back. His name is Uriel Macias. He is a council member of the city of Azusa. He is a lieutenant in the United States Navy. My name is Brad Pomerance. It's California Edition.
Thank you.